Hi guys, this is Vidas.
And Usha.
Today's question was sent by William. He writes, "Thank you for all the help you have helped so many organists. My question is about articulation of Bach. When I went to school, I was taught to play everything legato. I am now reworking the first organ works I studied, like 8 little preludes and fugues by Bach. Or are all notes legato? I have found I can make them much more exciting. But what about Orgelbuchlein? Are the themes played strictly legato or articulated? I play in cathedral with 6 seconds of reverberation. Same with chorale preludes of Buxtehude. Are they ever played legato, like Our Father in Heaven? That is, in German, Vater unser im Himmelreich. The third movement in D minor melody is beautiful, but is it played legato? Thank you, William Herring." So this is a very important question for organists, right?
Well, yes, it's a very important question. And, to make the long story short, it was a period, quite a long period when all Bach music was played legato, but then, there was a movement. I believe one of the starters was, Ludger Lohmann, who defended his dissertation about, Baroque articulation. And basically, we need to thank people like Ludger Lohmann, like Harald Vogel, who recreated the original performance practice of Baroque music. And all the music by J.S. Bach, Dietrich Buxtehude must be played in articulate style. So basically, almost non-legato must be used in Bach or Buxtehude or their contemporaries' music. Because that's what, historical instruments tell us.
That's right, Ausha. And sometimes there is a confusion even in historical sources. Like, remember this title page of Bach's 2-part inventions and 3-part symphonias. He writes that they should be played in cantabile style. So in the middle of 20th century, when people were issuing modern editions of these beautiful little gems, they thought they should be performed legato, cantabile style, singing style. But taking into account how other instruments were articulating at the same time in Baroque period, like violin or wind instruments, they all articulated with small spaces between each note, unless composer indicated otherwise with slurs. So doesn't Ausha seem to you that articulation in keyboard instruments is similar to those melodic instruments?
Sure, it must be, the same.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what style requires. And I also remember when I was a student at the Academy of Music, I had to go to Šiauliai, the city in northwestern part of Lithuania. We have each year sort of big secret music festival. And that year I had to go and to be assistant to one professor who came from Germany. This was an elderly man, Professor Konrad Foppel. And he was, complaining to me that, now all Germany nowadays is full of young organists, and in his meaning, those young organists at that time were almost like, 40, 50 years old. Ludger Lohmann among them, I believe. And he was telling me, and we play Bach and articulate his music, and we call it Bach style, and he was just outraged.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand him because, he was actually a student of legendary organist Karl Straube.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and at that time, Straube in Germany and Marcel Dupré in France were really the most famous organists, I believe, in the world at that time. And, Straube taught him to play Bach legato. And there were only some particular, place where you articulate, like maybe at the end of phrase or at the end of a period. And that's it, but it was a romantic tradition to play Bach like this. But, if you don't believe us, that Bach need to be played, articulated. Come, to Europe or then go to America, to places that have, historical Baroque instrument, and try to play legato on those instruments, and you will see that it's basically impossible.
Impossible what? To play
legato, yes.
Why?
Well, that's the nature of those instruments.
What makes it so difficult to play legato, let's say, with pedals?
Pedals are almost impossible to play legato. That's true, because the keys are much shorter comparing to like romantic or modern instruments. And I don't know, you probably would break your leg if you would try to play legato. It's just physically impossible.
Plus, we have played a number of historical organs where your foot doesn't fit on the pedal board. Your heel cannot play the pedals at all.
Sure.
You have to play with toes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
A number of them.
Yes, and how would you play legato, pedal parts, let's say, of the Fugue by J.S. Bach, and play legato only with your toes? That's impossible.
Unless you slide them in like glissando fashion, but it's also not the case historically. Remember that many organists back in the day practiced on clavichord, and with clavichord you have to have a decent touch, and it only sounds well when you play with toes.
Yes.
Not with heels. Although I've heard some modern organists try to master Röpke's sonata, a romantic piece, a very famous masterwork in legato fashion on the clavichord. It's just for fun, of course. So it's possible, but in a concert situation doesn't sound well.
So yes, I think that appropriate music must be played in appropriate style. So in Baroque music we use almost no legato, and in romantic music we play almost everything legato.
Except there are exceptions,
yes,
right?
There are exceptions.
Like repeated notes, like other instances where composer has indicated ending of the slurs, ending of the phrases you have to breathe, and the breathing and the articulation then is very precise. Then you have to shorten it by a certain rhythmical value.
Yes. And for example, in Baroque music you can play legato some motives. For example, so-called famous time motive, where play legato two notes, and please sort of prolong the first note. Tidim, tidim, tidim.
But Usha, it all is relative, depending on the acoustics, right? Sometimes, like William says, he has 6 seconds of reverberation.
So the larger acoustic you have, the more articulate you should.
Even if you want to achieve legato, then you have to perceive that your listeners should hear legato, not you, right? Like downstairs in the pews, it should sound those a few notes legato. Then you probably still need to articulate.
Sure.
Upstairs in the balcony.
And another thing that I wanted to tell you about Baroque music, when you have to play, or at least use some legato, when you are playing chromatic pieces. Sometimes when you have, to play them legato. And there is so-called toccata elevazione style, Italian style.
Dissonances and suspensions,
yes,
right?
So in those places, in pieces like that, you also have to play some legato.
Or in Baroque compositions which remind you of those styles. Sometimes episodes with dissonant chords and suspensions, they need to be played legato then.
Yes.
And remember, when you practice,
Miracles happen.